A jury just handed Trump a humiliating defeat, and Stephen Miller is already having a temper tantrum about it online. My name is Dina Doll, and this is the MeidasTouch Network. So acting U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley, who was appointed by Trump, decided to federally prosecute a man who towed the truck of the ICE agents while they were having an aggressive and violent arrest of a TikTok influencer, Tatina Martinez, over the summer in Los Angeles. She had been recording ICE raids throughout Los Angeles over the summer. And the tow truck driver, seeing their arrest, decided to tow the ICE agent's truck around the corner. Basically, the ICE agents didn't have access to that car for 13 minutes, according to his defense lawyers. But they decided to prosecute him anyway. They decided to prosecute him for a federal charge that would have given him 10 years as a sentence. This is what the Trump appointee said at the time that he decided to arrest and indict Bobby Nunez. He writes on X, how it started versus how it's going. Arrested. Bobby Nunez is now under arrest for brazenly towing an ICE vehicle. He is charged with theft of government property. Apparently, he thought it would be funny to interfere with our immigration enforcement operations. Now he can laugh behind bars while he faces justice. Nunez is looking at up to 10 years in federal prison if convicted. They went as far as taking this to trial, a 4-day trial to be exact, about the fact that their car was 1 block away for 13 minutes. Never mind the fact that their car was actually blocking access to this compound's parking lot. But they still decide to do it. Well, in terms of how it started, how it's going, this man, Bobby Nunez, was acquitted by a jury of his peers because of the fact that DOJ can pursue political indictments, pursue political charges, as we see even with the high-profile people like Attorney General Letitia James, but also with the everyday person like Bobby Nunez. But it's one thing to have a political charge and indictment, and it's a whole other thing to actually get a conviction. So how it started, how it's going, this man, Bobby Nunez, was acquitted by a jury of his peers. And that acting U.S. attorney that Trump had appointed, well, a judge decided that he had overstayed his welcome, just like every other Trump appointee out there, like Alina Habba. And he is no longer the acting U.S. attorney. Now he's instead has to have the title of first assistant, which he actually had prior to the fact that Trump appointed it. Him. So in terms of how it started and how it's going a whole heck of a lot better for Bobby Nunez than it is for Bill Asaley. Bobby Nunez decided to take matters into his own hands when he saw this violent, aggressive arrest by ICE. I mean, we have been seeing video everywhere throughout the country of overly aggressive ICE tactics. Take a look at what happened.
This guy took matters into his own hands and took one of their vehicles away. Federal immigration agents sent scrambling in downtown Los Angeles when a tow truck operator takes off with one of their vehicles as they were making an arrest last month. Now that tow truck driver, Bobby Nunez, is potentially facing 10 years in federal prison after he was arrested today and charged with theft of government property. Acting U.S. Attorney for Los Angeles, Bill Asaley, posting the arrest to X, writing, apparently he thought it would be funny to interfere with our immigration enforcement operations. Now he can laugh behind bars while he faces justice. But Nunez got involved trying to help 24-year-old Tatina Martinez, who was violently arrested by ICE back on August 15th. The government says she was in the country illegally and was convicted of a DUI. Her attorney says she did have the DUI, but is here legally, saying when she arrived from Colombia 3 years ago, she presented herself at the border, was processed, allowed entry, and given a work permit.
We believe at this point, based on things that have been said to her, is that because she was out filming ICE activities, she was targeted.
ICE has also continued to target Home Depots to pick up day laborers. It happened again today at this Home Depot in Hawthorne. The roundup included a man on dialysis whose daughter tells us she now fears he won't get the treatment he needs to survive while in custody.
Pues la verdad me siento muy triste por él porque pues con la condición que tiene es de vida o muerte, pues por eso estoy aquí.
Today, President Trump was delivered a pair of losses in court. In one, a federal appeals court ruled it was illegal for him to have sent the National Guard to Los Angeles. A Saley called this a frivolous ruling by an activist judge.
The whole premise of this lawsuit is completely frivolous. The idea that the National Guard was out on patrol on the streets of LA, arresting people or conducting civilian law enforcement is completely false.
But for months now, it's been President Trump who has repeatedly been making it sound as if the National Guard was on the streets of LA as recently as today.
Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming.
So it has been Saley who's been correct. Those federal agents have just been around the federal building downtown and in Westwood. The president is wrong, including mentioning bullet fires. There was no gunfire during any of the unrest when the federal troops were here present and active in downtown and in Westwood. As for that second ruling, a federal court of appeals ruled that Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act, saying that there's an invasion into the U.S., is not legal to get immigrants out of the country. The Trump administration expected to appeal both rulings.
For me, a good night's sleep is everything. I cannot function the next day. But I've learned that it's not just how much I sleep, but how I sleep. And Leesa really delivers on the how. Leesa has a lineup of beautifully crafted mattresses tailored to how you sleep. Each mattress is designed with specific sleep positions and feel preferences in mind. Leesa mattresses are meticulously designed and assembled in the USA for exceptional quality. Plus, they back it all up with free shipping, easy returns, and a 120-night sleep trial. Leesa has been tested and awarded Best Hybrid Mattress by New York Times Wirecutter, my go-to for product reviews, and is exclusively featured by West Elm as their go-to mattress partner. That's where I went to pick out my mattress, the Legend Hybrid. But Leesa isn't even just about sleep. It's about impact. They donate thousands of mattresses each year to those in need, while also partnering with organizations like Clean Hub to help remove harmful plastic waste from our oceans. So go to Leesa.com for 25% off mattresses, plus get an extra $50 off with promo code MISTRIAL, exclusive for my listeners. That's Leesa.com, promo code MISTRIAL. For 25% off mattresses, plus an extra $50 off. Support our show and let them know we sent you after checkout. Leesa.com, promo code MISTRIAL. Again and again, we're seeing Bondi and Trump's misuse of the power at their disposal, their attempt to create fear and disincentive for people to speak up, whether you're talking about high profile or not, crumble in the face of a criminal justice system that our founders actually made robust. They had a valid fear that the government, with its inherent amount of power and disposal of the law enforcement for investigative purposes, would always create an imbalance with the criminal defendant. And they have lots of protections, such as having a jury of your peers that cannot be bought, that cannot be manipulated. And we are seeing that in real time. The AP said that out of 100 cases that they saw the DOJ bring, only more than half were dismissed, that they have had to over and over try to bring lesser charges in order for even any charges to try to stick. There's an example that they quote of the fact of somebody who was the prosecutors tried to charge with a felony 3 times because of some scratch on an ICE agent. They then lower the charge to a misdemeanor. This case went to trial and it came out, the body camera footage came out that the ICE agent was actually scratched by another ICE agent during the arrest of the person that they were trying to arrest. And it took the jury less than 2 hours to acquit her. Her name is Sydney Lori Reed. So we're seeing over and over juries actually following the rule of law. And Stephen Miller, upset about that. He posted on X a temper tantrum after the recent jury acquittal of the tow truck driver. Yet another embarrassment to Trump and Bondi, who are trying to go after people for prosecuting him, tried to put him away in jail for 10 years, despite this kind of evidence, 13 minutes away from their car, despite the fact that their car is actually blocking the entrance. Well, this is what Stephen Miller have to say. Another example of blatant jury nullification in a blue city. The justice system depends on a jury of peers with a shared system of interests and values. Mass migration tribalizes the entire legal system. He just can't handle the fact that he cannot control our jury system. So instead, he decides to disparage it. Just like every other part of our democracy that he doesn't like, he decides to disparage it. But the Los Angeles jury standing up and saying no. Yet another victory for the rule of law. And even beyond these acquittals, this failure to be able to indict, the fact that they go after people and they cannot get a successful verdict. We are also seeing ICE have trouble recruiting here in California specifically because in California, we actually pay our law enforcement well. And all of the incentives that ICE tries to give with bonuses, they are still having a hard time poaching law enforcement officers. And let's be clear, that is what they are trying to do, is poach law enforcement officers. And local agencies are getting upset about that. Here we have Trump and Bondi, who still try to argue that they are, the party of law, despite the fact that there's so much evidence now to the contrary about that. January 6th, him pardoning criminals. I mean, we're well beyond that. But here you also have a situation. Republicans who care about state and local safety, you have ICE trying to take law enforcement from state and local agencies. And they had a hard time doing that, specifically in California, because California pays not only their agencies' walls, but have good promotion system. Basically, they're happy. The law enforcement officers are happy in California, and they don't want to go work for ICE, which is why we saw ICE having to lower their standards in order to recruit people that aren't existing law enforcement officers who don't already meet those standards. So California, Los Angeles, proving to be resilient and fighting back against ICE, which we know right now that is so important. The communities here in blue cities across the country or in anywhere where immigrants are living or undocumented people specifically are unfortunately living in fear of ICE. And so good to see a jury stand up for somebody who's standing up against ICE. Be sure to follow the MeidasTouch podcast wherever you find podcasts, Mistrial Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. And also check out our sponsors for the Mistrial Podcast. So happy and grateful to have their support because they never censor what I have to say.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.